Imagine scrolling through Facebook, right? And you see a missing person flyer, and it's someone you know,
Oh, wow.
like someone you've met a few times through friends.
Yeah.
That's the story of Kelly Dwyer.
Oh, jeez.
And it all started on October 10th, 2013 in Milwaukee.
Hmm.
See, Kelly was enjoying a night out with her boyfriend, Chris Zocco,
Right?
and she just vanished
Just poof, gone.
without a trace.
Scary.
So on this deep dive, we're going to try to figure out what exactly happened to Kelly Dwyer.
Yeah, where could she have gone?
Welcome to CrimePod Castle's Twisted Crime series.
Yes. Welcome, everyone.
Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Definitely do that.
So to really understand this case, we need to go back to the beginning.
The beginning. Okay.
What do we know about Kelly's last movements?
Well, we know that she was out with her boyfriend that night.
Right, Chris Zocco.
Zocco.
They were at a bar called Allium,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just kind of hanging out with some friends.
Typical Friday night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a normal night out. And then afterward, they went back to Chris's apartment building.
Uh-huh.
Now, this was a pretty upscale apartment building.
Plantain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had security cameras.
Of course.
And the cameras caught them entering the building in the early morning hours of Saturday the 11th.
Okay.
But there's no footage of Kelly ever leaving.
None at all.
So that's pretty strange, right?
Very strange, yeah.
Did investigators check other exits?
They did.
Okay.
There really weren't any other ways to easily get in or out of the building.
So the missing footage is a big deal.
Huge red flag.
So what did Chris say happened?
Well, initially, he was pretty cooperative with the police.
Okay.
Yeah. And he claimed that Kelly had left his apartment on Saturday morning around 9 a.m.
But there's no proof of that.
Right. There's no footage of her leaving.
No witnesses.
And her phone and credit cards weren't used.
So his story doesn't add up.
Not really.
So what did the police do?
They got a search warrant for his apartment.
To look for clues.
Exactly.
And what did they find?
Some pretty disturbing stuff.
Like what?
Well, first of all, the apartment was a mess.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was drug paraphernalia everywhere.
What kind of drugs?
Cocaine.
Oh, wow.
And then they started looking through his computer and phone.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's when they found even more disturbing stuff.
What did they find?
Images and videos of Kelly.
Oh.
But she wasn't.
Oh.
She looked unconscious or unresponsive in these images.
Oh my gosh.
So this obviously changed the whole investigation.
Yeah, that's incredibly disturbing.
For sure.
So that's digital evidence, but did they find anything else in the apartment?
Yeah, one thing stood out.
What was that?
The shower curtain in the guest bathroom was missing.
Missing.
Gone.
Wow.
And not only that, but the hooks were all bent and broken.
Like there was a struggle.
It definitely looked like that.
Oh my God.
So they brought in a cadaver dog?
To sniff out any human remains.
You got it.
And what happened?
The dog reacted to several spots in the apartment.
Wow.
Near Chris's bed.
Okay. In that guest bathroom where the shower curtain was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And get this, in his car.
His car.
Yeah.
So that's really suspicious.
Extremely suspicious.
So it's looking more and more like something terrible happened to Kelly in that apartment.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
But they still didn't have her body.
Right.
So how could they build a case against Chris?
Well, they started looking into Chris's movements after Kelly disappeared.
Okay.
And some witnesses reported seeing Chris loading stuff into his car early Saturday morning.
Stuff like what?
We don't know exactly, but his ex-girlfriend told police that a big golf travel bag was missing.
A golf bag.
Yeah.
What could that mean?
The investigators thought that maybe he used that golf bag to transport Kelly's body.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a horrible thought, but it made sense with the evidence.
So did they figure out where he might have taken her?
That's where things get even weirder.
Okay, I'm ready.
So on that Saturday morning, Chris drove 80 miles to a cheese shop.
80 miles.
Oh, wait.
For cheese.
Yeah, that seems a little excessive.
Right. The investigators thought he was trying to create an alibi.
Oh, to make it look like he was just running errands.
Exactly.
While he was actually getting rid of Kelly's body.
That's the theory.
Wow. 80 miles is a long way to go for an alibi.
It is.
So did they find any evidence along that route?
Well, it was a tough search.
Yeah.
It was mostly farmland and woods.
So a lot of places to hide something.
A lot of places.
So they had the timeline and the suspicious cheese trip, but still no Kelly.
Right. This case went cold for a while.
How long?
Over a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Until May 2015.
Okay, what happened then?
A man was walking his dog in a wooded area.
Okay.
About 6 miles from the highway Chris had traveled on.
Oh.
He found a human skull.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was a gruesome discovery.
So did they identify the skull?
They did.
Yeah.
It was Kelly's.
Oh, my
She'd
God.
been there for over a year, just left in the woods.
That's heartbreaking.
It is.
But finally, they had the physical evidence they needed to charge Chris.
Yeah, it was a long time coming, but they finally had what they needed.
So what happened next?
Well, this is where things get a little complicated.
Oh, really?
They charged Chris, but not with murder.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he was charged with some other things.
But why not murder?
It's a good question.
It seems pretty open and shut.
I know, but there were some legal reasons behind it.
I guess we'll have to wait for part 2 to find out more about that.
We'll dive into all those details next time.
Stay tuned, listeners. We'll be back to unpack all of that. Okay, so we left off with Chris being charged, but not with murder.
Right.
So remind me again, what were the charges?
He was charged with first-degree reckless homicide,
Okay.
hiding a corpse, and strangulation and suffocation.
But why not murder?
Yeah, a lot of people were confused about that.
I can imagine.
But the prosecution had a specific legal strategy in mind.
Okay, what was it?
Well, they had to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
And proving intent for a murder charge can be really tough.
So they went with reckless homicide instead.
Yeah. Exactly.
So they were saying that Chris didn't necessarily plan to kill Kelly.
But that his actions were so reckless that they led to her death.
Okay, so what were those actions specifically?
Well, we talked about the drug use.
Right, the cocaine.
And those disturbing images and videos on his computer and phone.
Yeah, the ones where Kelly looked unconscious.
Right.
And they also suspected that there was some erotic asphyxiation involved.
Yeah, they thought that might have played a role too.
Oh, wow.
So the prosecution was basically arguing that Chris liked to push women to their limits for his own pleasure.
And that with Kelly, he just took it too far.
Exactly.
That's terrifying.
It is.
So the prosecution presented that picture of Chris, but what did the defense say?
They claimed that Kelly's death was an accident.
An accident.
They said it was a consensual sexual encounter that went wrong.
Okay.
They brought up Kelly's past drug use.
Trying to imply that she overdosed.
Right.
So it was their word against the prosecution's word.
Basically.
And it all came down to what the jury believed.
Right.
What did they think?
Well, trial lasted for 9 days.
So they had a lot to consider.
A lot of evidence and testimony.
And in the end?
They found Chris guilty on all charges.
Wow.
It only took them 3 hours to decide.
That's pretty quick.
It is.
They must have felt very strongly about the evidence.
It seems that way.
So what was Chris's sentence?
He got 31 years in prison.
31 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It is.
But I guess it reflects the severity of his crimes.
Absolutely.
It's sad that nothing can bring Kelly back.
That's the hardest part of this whole case.
But at least there's some justice for her and her family.
Right.
This whole case just shows how easily a fun night out can turn into a nightmare.
Yeah. It's a reminder that we always have to be careful.
And to trust our instincts.
If something feels wrong, it probably is.
This case also really highlights the dangers of domestic violence.
Yeah, it can escalate so quickly.
And sometimes the warning signs are subtle.
But they're always there.
It's so important to recognize those red flags.
And to reach out for help if you need it.
There are resources available.
Hotlines, shelters, support groups.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
You're not alone.
Kelly's story is a reminder that we all need to prioritize safety.
And to be aware of our surroundings.
And to always trust our gut feelings.
We can learn from Kelly's case.
And hopefully prevent something like this from happening again.
That's what we can hope for.
You know, it's easy to think this could never happen to me.
Right. We all think we're invincible.
But Kelly's story shows that danger can be lurking anywhere.
It can even be someone you think you know.
Like your boyfriend.
Exactly.
Someone you trust.
Someone you love.
So it's so important to pay attention to those red flags.
Like what?
Anything that feels off.
Yeah.
A gut feeling.
Trust your gut.
Changes in behavior.
If someone starts acting differently.
Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable.
Right. You have to listen to those feelings.
And this case also shows how dangerous domestic violence can be.
It can escalate so quickly.
And it's not always physical.
Right. It can be emotional or psychological too.
So if you're in a situation where you feel unsafe,
please reach out for help.
there are people who can help you.
There are hotlines, shelters, support groups.
You don't have to go through this alone.
No one should suffer in silence.
Kelly's story is a tragic reminder that we all need to be vigilant.
About our own safety and the safety of others.
So let's all learn from this case.
Let's honor Kelly's memory.
By being aware of our surroundings.
By trusting our instincts.
And by speaking up if we see something that's not right.
We can all make a difference.
And hopefully prevent another tragedy like this.
Absolutely.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the disappearance of Kelly Dwyer.
A truly heartbreaking case.
Remember to follow and subscribe to Crime Podcastle for more in-depth discussions on true crime cases.
And check out our YouTube channel for even more content.
Stay safe, everyone. And until next time, keep seeking the truth.